Bar's a game with a rich culture of parody and counter-parody within their players and their names, and it turns out that today, on Thermal Shock, our blue player has that kind of spirit. It's going to be GG Gaming, representing the blue team here, a parody of GG Gaming. The player that I believe I've covered or I showed in a video not too long ago. Going to be representing the blue team here on the northwestern side of Thermal Shock. Thermal Shock is a diagonally mirrored map. Well, I guess it's mirrored across the diagonal of the face, essentially made so that each team spawns in a corner more or less and expands outward from there. One of the other fun factors about Thermal Shock is that the lava does recede eventually, meaning that these big inaccessible areas will eventually fade into accessible lowland terrain for these commanders to fight over. Commanders like, for instance, Austin, who is actually been showcased in quite a few of the videos recently here, going to be making an impression as a Red Armada commander. Can't quite remember if Austin played Armada or Cortex in the last video that they were in, but either way, going to be stepping into this match here as the red team leader, 52 true skill to their name, coming in just 2 above GG Gaming. GG. Other notable names, I recognize 8C, Console Plus Zaddy, a lot of familiar faces. It's one of those lovely things about Bar is when you play and you play around the same time, you're probably going to encounter some of the friendly faces around the community, right? There's a lot of people that are usually it's just that the community is just small enough that you can recognize familiar names, but still big enough that there's a diverse array of different players, especially if you play at different times during the day, I find anyways. One of the pardon me, one of the things that really sells the game for me is the fact that there's just a wholesome community behind it, right? I've seen some posts online about people talking about how Beyond All Reason is they're starting to sense some sort of failure to keep things chill in the lobby, so to speak. A little bit of toxicity, perhaps, and that is a bummer to hear because as far as I've ever been a part of it, the Bar community has been very, very kind and loving, with a few choice characters mixed in, of course. Every community's gonna have a couple of those, right? How about we talk about the match, though? Matishko trying to get a little aggressive over here on the map, but it looks like the red player, Austin, is going to have none of that, sending their own ticks across to shut down the rovers that were tasked with doing a little bit of damage. Those ticks, rather, have shut down those rascals phenomenally, and are going to take control, as lightweight as it is, firm control over the center geothermal spot right here. A control by 5 ticks is not necessarily the pinnacle of on-site defense. However, it's better than nothing, and indeed, these do have vision of that constructor. We could certainly jump on top of that. Yeah, there they go. Gonna go jump on top of that constructor. I think that's the right idea. 5 ticks, you should be able to burst that down pretty quickly here. Yep, and indeed, that constructor I do believe will fall. It's an excellent pick right now. Constructors coming in at 135 metal apiece. That's, I mean, you could think of it as about 10% of the early game economy here for the purple player going down the drain. Yeah, that's a nice little pick right there. Gonna stop the expansion out into the middle zone as well. And now we do see a couple of Rocketeers headed in that direction to try and fortify that area and reinforce against any LLT spam. Sad Panda going to be in charge of the bottom section down here. A couple of rovers pushing in. Commander will be quick to blast those apart though, alongside a grunt. That aggression will be mopped up nice and neatly as well. As far as strategy goes, harassment is king on this map. Actually, a really vulnerable position right here. No LLTs or anything over here, so it's going to be entirely based on the defense from Console Plus Zaddy in order to keep this area secured. Yeah, those pawns have got a good wrap around here. Yeah, the ticks are looking for their opening. They are looking for it. And they found it. At the very least, going to be able to escape out of here, making their way back into the backline. It's so annoying dealing with those ticks. Very, very annoying. You're constantly trying to chase them around, and there's just no unit that's as fast. So you're constantly just, it feels like you're just constantly running around, trying to play catch up. Heading off the ticks is probably the best option you have here. Commander Death right here on the front lines. Getting into a heated trade right now, but this is going to be way better right now for Bing Bing Bang, who has 2 constructors out on the front line to eat up all that juicy commander wreckage. 2,500 metal. Yeah, I'm just checking my math really quick there. 2,500 metal. Going to be plenty to head right on back to Bing Bing Bang's economy, as you can see him dispersing it to other players around the match right now. handing out that metal, going to be very, very useful. Sad Panda also getting in on this with a couple of res bots, trying to make sure that that metal goes back to the team Toronto. Loads of metal has been sent back to Austin here, meaning that the forces in the center of the map are going to be, at the very least, well reinforced. It is Rocketeers versus Janisses, though. And those Janisses do have the support of a commander behind them. I fear for the commander, actually, who's now taking hits from these Janisses. Yeah, that hurts. See Austin starting up buildings here to bait out the Janus shots. That's a proper high-level move right there. Try and get a couple of cameras down or something like that. Put a wall down, something that the Janus can fire at, and so waste his shot and you can get your units engaged. That's a pretty high-level thinking right there. I love it. These Janus are a pain, though. Slowly but surely melting away any of these units and just coming back to get healed whenever they're recharging their cannons. Very brutal to go up against here. Wouldn't be surprised if Austin decides to switch into vehicles as a better alternative to just continuing to try and fight that fight. A lot of bots here, actually. Autopilot going into vehicles here as well as Bing Bing Bang, but bots down south here for Sad Panda as well. Going up against vehicles. 8C's commander is going to step up north here. There is a couple of LLTs coming up. Oh, are these going to be up in time? I don't think so. One of them will just about be finished, but we're going to need quite a few more in order to shut down a commander pushing in. Yep, there's the commander. Gonna start getting blasted away by those LLTs, but not before they get degunned, and those constructors are going to have to flee for their lives. 8C now has control of the entire southern side of the map. This is important. Oh, sending the constructors back in. A little bit of a micro mistake right there. Nizah, a little bit careless with those. Should have probably rallied them back and try and reinforced with his own units. He does have Shuriken headed out in the field, but there's a lot of these Whistlers here to try and shut down any airplay that, well, yeah, might be sent over to try and paralyze those forces. Shurikens, of course, can turn the tides of those battles quite quickly, but they are very prone to even the lightest of anti-air fire. Yep, this is a good engagement right here for Kiosh. Doing a great job with the forward vehicle bay, making sure to get as much value out of these tanks here as possible. 1-pounder to stave off any aggravated swarm attacks, then the Wolverines and the Lashers in the back to contribute that high damage action potential. Pyrotech took a pretty heavy hit right here, but the commander stays remaining. Geothermal has gone down, but still managing to hold that position well against Hotshot GG and Consul Plus Zaddy. Austin's still in a hard-fought battle over here. I'm surprised we haven't seen a transition to vehicles. I really feel like that would have been a easier way to contest this fight right now. Keep the vehicle or keep the bot lab open so you have those res bots, and then go into a vehicle bay. The fight down south has turned quite sour here. 2 commanders have died. Shuriken are sent in. Yeah, there's a lot of missile trucks. Shuriken overall not really able to get the connection that they needed to get. And that is going to be a quick and decisive victory down south here for the blue team. The combined forces of 3 different commanders right now. We have the Seafoam Green, the Neon Green, and the Blue, all coming together to contribute to a force that is essentially unassailable right now. Nothing short of a equivalent army is going to be able to deal with this. Now, a couple of cherry connections with those Janisses could put this army on its back foot, however. Yeah, that Janus is looking pretty sour right now. 0 health, in fact. Turns out you don't even need the last health. I joke about the last HP being the only one that matters, but apparently you don't even need that one. It's the -1th HP that really is the one that matters, I suppose. We're sort of hitting that critical number of missile trucks here where we can start to engage against more elaborate armies and just overwhelm them with sheer rocketry. Yeah, 1, 2, or 3 volleys and away goes those tanks. What a brutal unit. They've been nerfed slightly, and for good reason. They were even more brutal when they had slightly more range and were a little bit less expensive. Austin's still suffering from that aggressive rocketry as well over here. This is a hero Janus. Oh, nice connection right there. It's hits like that that really make the Janus the powerhouse that it is. Yeah, landing those connections allows it to, well, first of all, it allows it to level up quite quickly. That's one thing. But the other is the fact that it just decimates these armies. Where once there stood plenty of bots, now there stands no more. Whoa, big aggression down south here. Looks like Sad Panda's base has been overwhelmed at this point. Indeed, even starts eating up the T1 lab. Trying his very best to salvage whatever he can from this operation. Eating up the T1 lab, putting it into static defenses here. Trying to build anything at all that can outlast all these missile trucks, but they're just going to keep on sieging everything over here until eventually nothing but rubble remains. This is not looking good. It's going to take drastic action here from the backline in order to save them. The T2 labs are up and running now. Tipsy Z. It's a fun name. The more I say it, the more fun it is. Tipsy Z. Going to be contributing those T2 Mauser out to the field now. A decent counter against those missile trucks for sure, but you need enough of them to shut them all down, and that takes a little while to get up into the production of. Commander deaths over here as well. Commander trades left, right, and center across this entire map. It's Hotshot GG's commander going down for Pyrotex. That's a tricky trade, but it all works out here for Console plus Zaddy, who gets to eat up all of that juicy metal left over in the middle of the map. It's going to be Pyrotech trying to rebuild in the backline here, going for a bot lab, but there's not really a whole lot of metal, or rather a whole lot of build power in the bank. We have one constructor and one nano turret back here going to start putting things back together. Hero Janus trying to save the day here. I just don't think there's enough of them. Too many medium tanks, too many lashers, whistlers rather. The Mauser could save the day. They certainly could. They need to be very active, constantly positively trading here. How did that guy get up there? What on earth? I think a rocket landed underneath him and rocket boosted him up onto this hill. That's funny. Anyway, these Mauser need to go start trading. If these Mauser aren't trading out, they're effectively wasted metal, and that whole T2 transition was worthless. They need to start getting some value out against this green army, and right now I just don't see it. The other problem with the Mauser is you need some way to see the enemy's army, right? You need a way to predict where they're going and fire on them. Radar vehicle rather, an excellent option. Going to allow for quite the vision range here for the Maroon player. And that is the effectiveness of the Mauser to shred apart all of this T1 in mere moments. Very nicely done. A tick spam coming out now from 8C. Forward tick spam set up over here. Not bad. It's something. It's not ideal against rocket trucks because they can fire so frequently and their rockets heat seek, so they don't really struggle very much against the ticks. However, it does mess with the Mauser a little bit as they're constantly firing on things that aren't exactly well worth their attention. At this point, though, yeah, those T1 trucks are starting to take some damage. Could be a pain. Rocket Spiders out now. Quite cool to see. Rocket Spiders are one of the units that take a tremendous amount of skill to use because you have to micro them properly. If your opponent is moving parallel with you, the Rocket Spiders will not connect. So you have to make sure that you're taking the right engagement at the right time. This is great control right here, moving the Spiders in and out of combat, making sure to constantly be dipping them in and then pulling them backwards when they're firing. They can fire and then retreat while they're firing. They also have pretty good lock on. Right, they will just fire at whatever they can see. Oh, the Shuriken are out now. Commander needs a AA. Yep. Spider's very resistant to Shuriken, or paralyzation, I should say. So at the very least, the Spiders are going to be all right. The AA is still paralyzed. But Tejko getting a little low. The Spider's definitely connecting here and there. T2 Mauser are now out, though, for Orlani Tzykis, who has been enjoying the spoils of a well-won front line, and oftentimes that means lots and lots of metal. Commander does go down right here for the purple commander, or the purple player rather. Rocket Spider's great for sieging static defense, so beamer turret, perfect target for them. Geothermal will also fall. Nicely done. Mauser continuing to rain siege, but they're not quick enough to avoid those Rocket Spider rockets. A little bit redundant there, eh? And I do believe these Spiders are actually going to clean things up. Nicely done here by Austin, using a unit that I feel like we don't get a showcase of all too often in the middle of the map here. Keep zooming out and zooming back in. I want to look at other things, but the Rocket Spider has just captivated me at this point. I've been wanting to showcase these as well as showcase the Weber. I feel like the Weber doesn't get nearly as much love as it should. As a reclaim bot, I think it's just so thematically perfect, right? It can EMP things to stun them, and then it can eat them alive, which is just, I mean, as far as spiders go, it's basically a spider, right? It's perfect. T1 Force is now pumped out by Nizah up front. up top. Down to south. Up on the hill down south. A little bit of a directional nightmare, but either way, these units are starting to mount a little bit of an offensive. They're pushing right into the static defense. I mean, you have the tools to deal with all this, but they're just being used slightly inefficiently here. Those pop-up turrets can be very tricky to kill, especially when you're dealing with situations where you don't really have any units that you can spam out. Rocket spiders have tremendous range, by the way. 600 range on those bad boys. Very, very impressive. Ah, there they are. The Webbers have made their debut. The Recluse and the Weber, two beautiful little spider bots. Very thematic. Going to be engaging against a couple of these feeds. So in joint unison, you can see right there just how effective they are, because the Weber has that little EMP beam, so it can stun the units and turn them into just meat sitting on the battlefield. And the Recluses can just jump on top with those rockets, and once they no longer have to worry about what they're actually aiming at, right? It's just static. Then they're quite a bit more effective. Yeah. I love that composition. That's just lovely. Really good stuff. Now looking at that has cost us a look at the aggression over on this side. Looks like a whole bunch of lightning tanks have pushed all the way through here, jumped into the production centers for oral anti-Dizicus, and yeah, shut down production quite swiftly here. We also saw the commander getting overrun on the southern side. All of these defenses have gone down. Resbots now patching together whatever they can, ticks included. Little tick was resurrected right there by 3 of these shiny chrome resbots. They are very shiny, aren't they? Very nice. Mauser essentially perfect for dealing with this pitbull here, so that's nice that we have them. Unfortunately, they're being swarmed by ticks. They also don't really have vision of it right now. This is quite nice. Oh, pink tank's jumping on top of the seafoam green base right now, shutting down that T2 laboratory. It's going to be eaten up by those construction turrets here. Not sure if that's intentional or not. Maybe trying to salvage as much of that lab as possible before they get annihilated. Medium tanks, fairly sturdy. Lightning tanks, very high damage. Perfect for getting into these nooks and crannies and blasting apart all of those expensive structures that we like to keep so tucked away behind our main lines of defense. There we go. Talk about a reverse sweep right now. The red team continuing to push forward. It is, however, coming at the cost of their northern front. There was a rattlesnake built over here. Oh, huge connections from those spiders, softening up a whole lot of those bad boys. Wow. Are rocket bots the answer to the Sheldon? Interesting. Certainly on choke points like this. Oh, another couple of kills right there. Very beautiful. Console plus Zaddy even in the chat. WTF Weber broken. That is impressive right there. What an excellent showcase of the power of those spider bots. That is really, really cool. More of them up north here. Everybody has embraced the spider bot. I'm all here for it. One of the Tsar is getting a miracle connection right now. I mean, it's what it was built for. Yeah, well, okay. There are some counters left in the book. It's good to see. Moving the commander forward here. Oh, trying to go for the cheeky D gun, but probably not going to get it. There is enough radar here to detect everything. Full-blown crisis management mode over here, though. Resbots patching together this entire army. I wonder if they wouldn't have been better just reclaimed here. You can always resurrect all these units and then reclaim them. You get a lot more metal back that way as well. Not the worst idea I've ever seen. A little bit of friendly fire on that rattlesnake right there. You guys see that? Hey, you know, Rattlesnake doing a decent job of fending off some of these forces here. Mauser being used as an assault force. Not exactly perfect. They'll be blasted apart pretty quickly there by that pitbull accompanied by that rattlesnake, which is pretty good. Yeah, the red team has completely turned this game around. We are now looking at a south versus north scenario. Now this is quite nice for the green player up north here. Yeah, full control over all of these metal points over here. Eating up all this juicy, juicy metal as well. Very nicely done. Mauser trying to push through the center over here. There is a Persecutor, a Cortex pop-up plasma thrower, plasma slinger, chucking some plasma balls out into this army and causing quite a bit of a stir up. Not going to be easy to break here. Lightning tank's pretty good though. Yeah, you know what? Might be easier than I initially calculated. Yeah. Here come the recluses. The all-powerful recluse. I will say the recluse is extremely powerful against that Persecutor if you can get him within range. Impressed that they managed to kill this fiend. This is the proper way to kite with the against recluses. Is you want to be running parallel to the recluse and the rockets won't hit you. These fiends causing quite a bit of trouble here. Those lightning tanks are essentially solving the fiend issue. However, as soon as those lightning tanks are gone, the fiend issue becomes a much larger one. Armies being pulled across all different fronts over here. The yellow army is deciding to march across this side. Just about to say, it looks like this lane is completely open. Oftentimes this is forgot about. There are these little ramps where you can move units up and down over here. And so indeed, this might be a perfect little area for a run by over here. It looks like Nazad decides to retreat and use those forces defensively instead. Not the end of the world, but they're going to be really slow. Nazad needs some LLTs immediately. Tons and tons of ticks headed towards his commander's direction. Very easy to underestimate the tick, and then suddenly you're surrounded by 10, 15, 20 of them, and your commander has little to no health left in its tank. And there it goes. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. No, yeah. GG Gaming does smell the kill here. Yeah. Oh, Nazad putting up a fight for it, though. Not making it easy whatsoever. But eventually, the yellow commander will go down in the dust. A couple of those fiends, the run by force, making their way downtown. Austin finally pushing back over here. The recluses and the Webbers working together in great unison. Yeah, look at that. So the Webbers paralyze them, and then the rockets can connect. What an excellent unit composition. Looks like we do have the EMP rework enabled as well here, meaning that those those units start to slow down when they get EMP'd. Wow. The Recluse might have a new place in the meta. I'm not gonna lie. The Recluse is looking extremely powerful right about now. Shuriken heading out here. Trying to get some sort of a trade. Trying to stop that geothermal battery from coming online. And for good reason. That is a very, very powerful unit right there. Powerful structure, I should say. Extremely good against T1. Even fairly good against T2. More volleys of rockets. Perfect for breaking these defenses like this. Such a high spike in damage, it's not really possible to repair out of the damage that's being dealt. Nicely done. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of sharpshooter included in the mix here. We have essentially an anti-spam, but it's also a siege. However, what you don't have is anything to deal with units like this, the Mammoth or Sumos or anything like that that are big and bulky and just have a whole lot of health, because the rocket spiders do a lot of damage, but they fire in volleys, and it would complement your composition quite nicely to go into a couple of sharpshooters just so that you can eke out a little bit more spiked damage, since that's kind of already the direction that you're headed in. Alternatively, welders wouldn't be a bad idea. A couple of welders just as some sort of AoE control. You see them here, bouncing that lightning around on and off of these tanks. Trying to get as decent a trade as possible here. Medium tanks just too sturdy though, and they do push all the way through into the back lines of the blue players' defenses. Firing now on the fusion reactor here. Basically half of the, oh no, it's the full economy of the blue player. It will go down. And that is a massive hit to the blue economy. Bringing the red just a little bit closer in energy production. Red team a little bit behind as far as the economic game goes. It's because most of these have been upgraded to T2, whereas the red team's metal extractors are still lacking that T2 upgrade here. Kind of all over the place. Getting those T2 up and running really exaggerates your economic difference very quickly. Starts to make itself shown very, very nicely. We can see from a high level this map is essentially split along this line. Pardon me. With that being said, there's a nice big dead man's zone. No man's zone. Dead man's land. Right over there. Mammoths are built here, and they're gonna start marching forward here, I feel like. They certainly should. There's that geothermal. It was completed after all. Consul plus Zaddy has got to be feeling pretty good about having that up and running. There are a couple of constructors headed out as well. I wonder what they're going to get up to. Interesting. Oh, they're putting radar towers all over the place. That's quite nice. It's little support things like that that you can do as a backliner that really help the front lines. It might be thankless work. There might not be anybody who, you know, gives you commendations for it, but just know that building those radar towers, building those radar jammers, building pinpointers especially, all things you can do to make your life quite a bit more bearable, as well as your teammates. They'll be happy about it, even if they don't know exactly why they're happy about it. Looks like we've gone back into vehicles here for Austin. Can't blame them. After you deal with those Mauser for so long, it's hard not to want some yourself. Rocket Spider era has come to a close here. We have the final batch, at least for the time being. 2 Webers, 4 Rocket Spiders. Going to be more than enough to siege any T2 positions here, but not quite enough to break all of these units. I mean, that is 4 Mammoths. Very difficult to deal with those. They're exceptionally slow, which makes them very weak against the sharpshooters because, of all things, the sharpshooters can actually out-micro them. They can outrun the Mammoth, which is, you know, neither unit is known for speed, but one is just slightly slower than the other. This base was discovered over here. Unfortunate. Will be blasted to smithereens by that merciless Cerberus 3-headed geothermal cannon. T2 production has been well underway here for Kyoj. Looking to try and take an engagement here. I'm pretty sure that the Green Army beats the Tan Army on this northern eastern side here. I think those Zars are going to contribute so much firepower so quickly that all of these Sheldon are going to melt away here. The problem, of course, being that this army can retreat back into these hills, but really that's not an issue because you're going to be getting a lot closer to their army. I think this is the right move here. I think Predarig needs to get some sort of engagement right now. I think moving in with these units and making sure that they're trading effectively is going to be key. Oh, but that being said, there's no... Oh yeah, the radar bot was was damaged right there, meaning that the radar jammer turned off. That did mean that these units were able to see all of them, and what could have been a nice little push here instead got thwarted. That is a difficult position to break. Partly because it's just on the straights over here, but also partly just because it's a difficult matchup, those bots versus the vehicles. Spybot detonation over here, gonna paralyze a bull and a pit bull. A couple of constructors as well, to boot. All of which enveloped in a fine curtain of flame, now marching across the map here. Yeah, we need to take out all this as well. Oh, those are pop-up turrets, aren't they? Yeah, a couple of Dragon Claws over here. Going to be pretty good for shutting down the offenses. Yeah, Tick's not really gonna do it. Gonna need something a little more sturdy to push through those pop-up lightning turrets. Nicely done putting those in a decent little choke point over here. It'll be very difficult to deal with. At least for any T1 garbage. We are idling these units horrendously. Oh no. Gaming has now, lost a significant portion of that army to just an unfortunate APM stall. No longer had the unit controls going, and so a lot of those units died needlessly there. Unfortunate to see. It happens to the best of us. That's all I can say about that. Gunships here, realizing that they're a little overexposed, but not really. I mean, there wasn't really that big of a response. A couple of fighters. Yeah, those gunships are going to be more than happy to go back in, and I indeed think they should. You don't usually get the opportunity to harass your enemy with gunships, but if you do, I mean, it's a good opportunity. Just definitely take it when you can. These wasps need to go focus on this base rather than that tank. We could shut down T2 unit production. That'd be quite nice. There's a lot of good targets here. I think what we need to do is start clicking on them rather than just fight commanding. Send these to attack specific targets. Here come the fighters, finally here to mop up all these gunships. Maybe. Not really. Not quite enough fighters, it appears, in order to deal with all this. Yeah. Nazad desperately trying to get a fighter force together. Green tanks incurring on this side of the map. We also have flak cannons firing away at these wasps here, making it difficult for those gunships to deal with all this. Painful. And now those artillery are up on the hills, battering away at the bases on the eastern side. This was just prone to happen. At some point or another, this side was bound to give. Advanced geothermal was taken here. It's risky because it's so explosive, but as long as you don't put anything too important near it, they're usually all right. A couple of hailstorms dropping their heavy strategic bombs on top of these starlights. Probably a pretty good target there, actually, all things considered. The beamer, I don't know if that was quite as good of a target, but, you know, either way, it works. A lot of resbots out now. Glad to see it. We could eat up all this wreckage, or we could resurrect it. Either one would work pretty good. Right now, it's actually the orange player Sad Panda eating up all this wreckage, which is quite nice. A lot of that was blue to begin with, so that's just metal going back to the red economy here. See Sad Panda actually sharing a whole lot of the metal with his team. That's really cool to see. Sad Panda, does not have a base anymore, I'm now realizing. Reduced to but a single Twilight. Yeah, cloaked Armada. Yeah, Armada generator. So there's a bunch of gunships. It's being very careful with them. Understandably so. They're the last gunships. Hey, you know what? It'll be enough to clean this side up, at the very least. Ignoring those two flak trucks over there. Oh, yeah. Those flak trucks are gonna hurt. And indeed, down go the wasps. Those flak trucks, too much damage. And that'll be all she wrote, as far as that goes. A pulsar was built up here, interestingly enough. Not a terrible choice. Feels like a little bit of overkill. Maybe not, though. Tactical missile launcher was built over here as well. Uh-oh. Yep. The entire red base is within range of this thing. That is dangerous. We were just about charged with the first missile here, too. And the blue economy is just continuing to leapfrog forward. Bunch of tanks were discovered over here. Nicely done to remember to build that sonic detection, the tremor detection, or whatever it's called. There it is, the tracer. Intrusion countermeasure system. It's a seismic detector. That's the word for it. Seismic detector detects any sort of footsteps or tank treads or anything like that in a huge radius around. Stockpile is finished. Oh, we are firing it. Right into the heart of the base of the red player here. And down she comes, connecting with a large chunk of the red. Wind production. Going to be shutting that down quite quickly. That hurts. The Shuriken army. Oh, blasted to cinders here by those anti-air. Nice connection from the bombers. That was really good. Bombers took some heavy damage flying over those flak trucks here, and they're still firing. But managing to shut down a large portion of this army over here. Nicely done. It's a very expensive solution, but it was a solution that needed to be, well, made. Somebody had to do it. Bull versus bull. It's an expensive fight. These bulls are 950 metal apiece. Hurts real bad to lose one of those. Here go the medium tanks. Trying to get an engagement here. Ooh, 0% left on that pit bull. One more round of fire would have probably killed that thing. It was not meant to be. Finally, the medium tank goes down up here, and that is going to be all she wrote for the green forces incurring over on this northeastern side, at least the ones that had already pushed in. There's a whole new wave that's been built over here, though. It's a lot of Tiger tanks getting ready to roll on in. Almost 700 metal for these bad boys. Very expensive, but quite durable for what you pay. There we go, sending volley after volley of rapid fire plasma artillery, plasma cannon towards their enemy. Very dangerous indeed. Nicely done. The green army is now broken through. Already the tan player has been essentially wiped out of this game. Not very much left of their base, and it looks like indeed they did decide to resign. Another big shuriken wave to come paralyze all of these. Not bad. It's gonna help at the very least. But I can't help but feel like the red team is just holding on, trying to cling to some sort of hope here. But the economies have just started to spiral so much out of the control of the red team here. Yeah. Tactical missile launcher connects right here with the formerly red base. Oh, we have scuttles moving in too. That's wonderful. Yeah, scuttle's going to connect with everything over here. That is very frustrating to deal with. You see the little radar blip, but there's nothing you can do about it if you don't have any units to go shoot that bad boy down. Nicely done. Good use of resources right there from Consul plus Zaddy, using those stealthy nuclear bombs to crawl their way into the enemy's base here. T3 has finally hit the field. Vanguard's going to start stepping over corpses to try and make it towards the orange player's base. Knocking out some build power while they're at it. Not bad. The hero constructor. Down he goes. He will be sacrificed. Twilight was built over here. Stuns a whole bunch of those ticks. Pretty much their job, though. And indeed, it looks like at this point, the blue team realizes with T3 marching, the red team realizes with T3 marching into their base, there's no shot that they're going to be able to out-trade and outfight the blue, who are just encroaching from too many angles. Nicely swept through here by the green player, Kyoji, and indeed winning the efficient use of resources and destroying enemy units and defenses award. Very nicely done. Hey, if you enjoy these games, feel free to leave a like down below. Take a second or two to hit that like button. Always helps these videos do a little bit better on the algorithm, and it brings more people into the Beyond All Reason community, which I think is just lovely. Always happy to make some new friends and see some new faces, but also happy to hear from you guys who have been longtime fans as well. Tune in on Tuesdays and Saturdays for the official streams right here on YouTube. You'll see me go live 12 PDT. And other than that, you can check out the Discord channel, which I'll have a link to down below. Hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed the match, and I will see you in the very next Beyond All Reason video. Peace out, folks.